Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So over the last couple days, volatility has definitely picked up around this market. We did see HBAR try to attempt a big breakout with all of the hype around the US crypto reserve. And right now we are sitting at about roughly almost 23 cents at the current time of recording. But that's not really the big focus from my point of view. I actually do believe that when we really look at what's happening right now, around all of these big innovations within this space, specifically even the movement of money itself, you know, this space is destined to be 10 times, if not even more, bigger than what it is right now. And that does definitely include HBAR. I actually think that this space, you know, give it just a few more years, and I think everyone will be sending and receiving money on DLT rails. But that's, of course, the long term. What about what's happening right now, especially when it comes to, you know, Hedera and even HBAR? Well, let's dive on in and let's talk about a few things. Let's actually start off with ETFs. So we do know that Wall Street is ready. We know that Wall Street has been ready for a while. They have made themselves known for a bit of time now in this space between the Bitcoin ETFs, the Ethereum ETFs, and then, of course, even the tokenization efforts that they have been pushing. Recently, I saw a post by Smoke Dog talking about 2025 crypto predictions from State Street, which is one of the largest players out there, $4.7 trillion in assets under management. The top 10 coins by market cap will have a spot ETF in 2025 this year. Crypto ETFs will expand far beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum. Digital asset ETFs will surpass precious metals ETFs by the end of 2025 as well. And if we actually look at this, we could see those three expectations from State Street. Now, again, when State Street does talk, we should listen because they are one of the biggest players around TradFi. And, you know, when it comes to HBAR, we have been waiting for an ETF for HBAR for a very long time. I know that the XRP holders right now that are probably watching this as well are saying, well, what about XRP? Because, again, we also have been waiting for an XRP ETF. I think that a lot of these projects will have an ETF by the end of this year, just like we are starting to see here being voiced by State Street, like for an example on the first one, where they did say that all of the top 10 coins will basically have a spot ETF. Now, we do know that HBAR has been making a lot of moves in the space. Right now, it is sitting at number 12. I would expect HBAR to be sitting in the top 10 by the end of this year. I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen a lot sooner than that as well, which would basically guarantee us an ETF if we're going off of what State Street is telling us. But again, we can't get our hopes up too much right now. We got to start to see the big moves happening in real time. But we have been starting to see some pretty big moves happening around the HBAR ETF. For an example, the NASDAQ, you know, filing was a big one. And just recently, we see NASDAQ files for 19B4 to list and trade a Grayscale Hedera ETF. So this is definitely a big move. And just to really kind of summarize this a little bit, big shout out to Mark Chadwick X over on X. We do see this is huge for HBAR. Grayscale files 19B4 for Hedera ETF with the US SEC. Then Grayscale is next in line to push for an Hedera ETF product. Then, of course, we do have NASDAQ stock market has filed the 19B4 for the product. Grayscale now joins Canary Capital as push for altcoin ETF offerings grow. If approved, the Hedera ETF product will trade on the NASDAQ exchange like other funds from Grayscale Investments. Grayscale manages over $40 billion and is a leading cryptocurrency fund. This is a very big and even a little bit of an unexpected move. But at the end of the day, you know, is this really unexpected? I got to say, I've been expecting this move for a little bit of time, and I'm actually very excited to see an HBAR ETF go live because we do know how big it was for Bitcoin. I mean, to even say, you know, I would say this, right? For a lot of people to sit there and say that the Bitcoin ETF had zero impact on the price of Bitcoin, you know, from $50,000 to $100K plus, that whole move was caused by the hype effect of the ETF and also the volume behind the ETF as well. The ETF solidify these players in the TradFi space and actually give them a legitimate name as well. Because again, being able to buy a Bitcoin ETF through Fidelity, BlackRock, etc., is a huge move for legitimization of this space and those underlying assets. And it also provides a safety net for those that don't actually want to touch, crypto exchanges or even be in the crypto space all that much, because again, they are concerned about the next big FTX implosion or whatever the case may be. They like to go with traditional players that they know about, that they know the name, they can trust them, and, etc. But outside of that, let's go over here to this post here, which is regarding Trump. So Trump's son, Eric, did state that President Trump is committed to U.S. crypto reserve and capital gains reduction. This is a big move, and big shout to Good Morning Crypto for this as well, because he did confirm that US-based projects like XRP and HBAR will eventually benefit from zero capital gains tax, while non-US based projects face a 30% tax. The golden age of America is upon us, and the Trump family is ensuring crypto will play a major role. With a US crypto reserve now confirmed, does this mean capital gains tax on US based assets will now be reduced? And if you guys do remember this, this is from Trump's son. He's confirming that US based crypto projects will benefit from zero capital gains tax. And two of those projects that he did mention were XRP and HBAR. Now, if this is the case, I want you guys to understand that these two projects will surge massively in value. It's very similar, right, to what we just quickly saw with XRP, Solana, and ADA on how all three of them moved massively upon the announcement of the US crypto reserve. In my opinion, when we think about an HBAR ETF combined with a possible move like this to have absolutely zero capital gains, or at least just a major drop in reduction of this could promote a big amount of buy volume for HBAR and even XRP, but also the demand. The demand would be outrageous. So when we think about that, what does that all result in? A higher priced HBAR, which is exactly why we need to focus on some of these moves being made from this admin. Now, on top of this, right, you guys probably remember what I said about the US crypto reserve when it comes to HBAR. I said it makes a lot of sense for HBAR to be included in that reserve, considering the size of Hedera, who Hedera is, and who Hedera is working with. And I'm not the only one. In fact, Crypto R Us put out a video regarding HBAR, which I'm actually very surprised about, because a lot of these people were not talking about Hedera last cycle. They didn't even care to look into it. And now they're big supporters of HBAR. But we have HBAR could be included in the crypto strategic reserve. Check this video clip out.
This is pretty big that Swift is now utilizing Hedera. Well, they're testing the network for all their messaging, for all the banks that they work with. And they transfer over, or they help transfer over $400 billion a day, 150 trillion annually, and they're testing out the Hedera network. So I think they are definitely a prime candidate to be added in the crypto reserve if the spot opens up. I think they would definitely be a likely candidate. This is pretty.
So yeah, I mean, listen, I do think that Hedera is going to be a very big player here around the strategic reserve. In fact, I think that players from Hedera are most likely going to be at that crypto summit on Friday. We'll definitely stay tuned for that. But the big thing to really kind of focus on here is, I mean, if we look at Swift and we look at these announcements, like for an example, Swift adopts Hedera tech across 3 continents, we know that they're testing it. We know that they're testing a lot of DLT and a lot of tech from the space. I mean, this was like one of the biggest announcements that we saw from HederaCon. Now, everything around this kind of got blown out of proportion, I think. There isn't a lot of confirmation of this, but one thing that I've been focused on when it comes to Hedera isn't just like big names like Swift, for an example. In fact, it's what's possible with these DLTs. We know that going all the way back to like 2021 when this originally got posted, which was real-time intercontinental settlement using stablecoins, this is where we actually got a little bit of an insight on cross-border transactions on Hedera and how Hedera is already working with some big names like Shinhan Bank, for an example, the leading bank in South Korea, and even Standard Bank, the largest bank in Africa. Now, they already have a proof of concept on Hedera. They're locked in on doing this trial. And this was, to reduce the reliance on middlemen, associated cost and settlement time in the currently $702 billion remittance market. I actually think that's much larger than that. But down here we have, in this talk, the two Hedera Governing Council members will showcase challenges with legacy cross-border payment systems like SWIFT, proposed stablecoin solution on Hedera, and then a live demonstration of the settlement process. When we think about the future of payments, cross-border payments, remittances, etc., Swift has dominated this space for a very long time, but Swift needs to innovate. We got to remember that Swift only really accounts for the messaging side of payments. They don't do clearing and settlement. DLT plays a perfect role to really kind of answer for those inefficiencies around the settlement and clearing side of the payment market, which is why I do think that we need to really kind of look at some of the most efficient tech that this space has to offer, and Hedera is definitely up there. Now, listen, is Swift working with Hedera? Is Swift, testing on Hedera? Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they were. We kind of got a little bit of a glimpse at this. There is already live bank trials with Hedera. We got that confirmation at HederaCon. It's a big deal. It definitely is. And I think that that is going to put a big spotlight on Hedera, and I think that that really kind of allows it to be included in the crypto strategic reserve. But I think that even outside of that, again, HBAR is a big candidate for this because of how big, Hedera already is. And you got to remember that HBAR is at the top of that list as well for the top US, crypto coins. And just the partnerships that Hedera has alone in the US with some of the biggest players in the US as well, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for Hedera to be at the top of that list as a likely candidate, but we'll have to watch, wait, and see, because again, if we look outside of just like the top three that are going to be included in that reserve, because it's XRP, Solana, and ADA, the next up on the list is Dogecoin and then HBAR. And let's just be honest here. HBAR makes a lot more sense than Dogecoin, not being biased or anything like that. I'm just being honest here from like a tech side or from even like a partnership side. Because again, when we look at the governing council, you look at the governing council around Hedera, okay? And right off the rip, you see major banks, you see major elite corporations on here as well. I mean, guys, the list of the GC behind Hedera alone is enough to really kind of say, all right, yeah, this is a big player. This is a legitimate player as well. This is going to be a 50-plus-year-old company. We already know that their goal is to be a 100-plus-year-old company. But the names on here are just so significant to me, especially when you see major banking players, major payment players, like, for an example, WorldPay, right? Like we talk about WorldPay quite a bit. This is a big player in the payment side of things, which also really kind of puts a spotlight on how efficient Hedera is for payments, because WorldPay is like one of the biggest giants out there around payments alone. But again, this is why I think that HBAR will be at the top of that list. But outside of that, I think that we should be focused on the HBAR ETF, because this is making a lot of noise and it's starting to really kind of pave a way to having a live HBAR ETF trading on the NASDAQ, which is a complete game changer. And I think that this is going to really be one of the biggest catalysts around Hedera. Just similar to like the XRP ETF as well. I think that these are huge catalysts. And I think that a lot of people are kind of overlooking how big they will be for these altcoins, especially in a space where the Bitcoin ETF was massive. We got to remember, retail was buying Bitcoin ETFs when it was already trading at about like, $30, $40, $50,000. XRP and HBAR, I mean, HBAR is trading around like the 20 plus cent zone. XRP is trading about like $2 and 20 plus cents. When a retail investor, somebody that's not a complete veteran or, an expert at, trading or anything like that, they look at these projects in an ETF and they're like, wow, this thing is like 20 some cents. I'm going to buy that because I think that it could hit, potentially $2 or $20 or, whatever the case may be. A lot of people like to look at this space and say, oh, this is going to be the next Bitcoin. It's going to hit Bitcoin levels, but that's just not the case. But I do think that retail will be buying up a lot of those cheap ETF products, like, for an example, HBAR, while HBAR is cheap. And that will definitely result in HBAR trading significantly higher. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.